Welcome, everyone, to today's session in Womb Wellness Week. I'm your host, Chantal, founder of Honored Womb, author of Peaceful Periods, and today I'm so excited about today's interview honoring the womb with Ustadha Iffet Rafeeq. Assalamu alaikum, Ustadha. How are you today?
Alaikum assalam. Alhamdulillah. I'm very excited. I'm very excited about this seminar. I'm excited to be speaking to you
Yeah.
and sharing this like information and talking about this topic. I love this topic, so I'm very happy. Thank you for the invitation.
Alhamdulillah, my pleasure. I can't wait for us to have this conversation in real life. But inshallah, it's coming. It's coming soon, inshallah. So, for those of you who have not yet met Ustadha Iffet, she's a teacher and dedicated student of the sacred sciences. She has a special focus and attention on women's issues, particularly in womb sciences, marital well being, and intimacy in Islam. If she's not studying, teaching, and touring with her popular Seasons Within course, she's dedicating her time and energy towards researching and raising awareness about minimalism, ethical living, sustainability, and I would add gentle parenting. I love the advice that you give about really parenting from our seasons as well. So
Mm.
thank you for being here. So we're going to get right into today's topic. You were the very first person I ever heard narrate a hadith around the womb and about the womb. I've heard, I know ayat that mention the rahim, but I had never been exposed to a hadith that mentioned the womb and its significance in Islam. Can you tell us some of the ahadith that you share in your courses and why? What does it mean? What does it signify when Allah mentions the womb in the way as is in the ahadith that you're going to mention?
Mm. Okay, thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So the hadith, it's actually amazing that as Muslim women, we grew up learning so many hadith about so many different things and not hadith about our wombs, like not hadith about very, very important, very powerful hadith about our wombs. And even when I was studying as a student of Deen, we went through these hadith, but nobody stopped to say, did you get it? Like, did you process what's being said here? And it's only after you go back and you approach these hadith with the lens of I am a woman, I carry a womb. What does God say about the womb? And what does the Prophet ﷺ say about the womb? Only then do you really are you able to open up your heart to hear this. And otherwise it's not like as common in our society, which a lot of women have said to me, it's the first time I've heard a hadith being mentioned about the womb. And it's and as you know, Sister Chantal, it's such a beautiful hadith about the conversation that takes place between the womb and Allah. So in Bukhari, one of our most authentic and reliable sources of truth and knowledge after the Quran, in that book, which is a compilation of all of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sayings, in that book, it speaks about when Allah created the whole of creation. So this is a narration narrated by Sayyidina Abu Huraira, and he said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Allah created the whole of creation, and then once He had done that, the womb, the rahim, spoke to Allah. So what we're getting from that is the metaphorical womb that represents all wombs spoke to Allah. And the womb said, in this place, I seek refuge in you. Like, I seek refuge in you, essentially saying, I need protection. Like, I need protection from you. And this conversation is taking place. The womb is speaking to Allah. And not only does it speak to Allah and ask for protection and say, in this place, I seek protection from you. I need protection from you, i.e., from the dunya, from the people in the dunya. And then Allah speaks back. So it's not even a one way kind of conversation. Allah speaks back to the womb and said, yes, would it please you if I keep connections with the one who keeps connections with you, and I sever ties with the ones who severs ties with you? The womb said, yes, my Lord. And then Allah said, then that is for you. So many things to unpack in this beautiful hadith, so many things. The first thing, the womb has spoken to God before like human rights, before female rights, before the Prophet ﷺ came and restored the rights that women have and the dignity that women have. Female rights, or the rights of a woman, were being established at the beginning of time, at the in the origin story, as part of the origin story, Allah creates the whole of creation, and then the womb presents itself to Allah and says, how will you protect me? I need your protection in the dunya. So many layers to that, right? But just to learn that women's rights existed at the beginning of time, and the Prophet ﷺ revived them. It wasn't that he with the coming of the Prophet ﷺ that they came for the first time. With the beginning of time, there was a pact of protection between God and the womb, between Allah and the Rahim, that Allah is saying, okay, you want protection, let me protect you with me. So Allah is saying, I will be connected to the one who is connected to you, and I will sever ties with the one who severs ties with you. So what we're hearing here is that if you want Allah, you have to honor the womb. And often women, we make this mistake, right? We make this mistake of thinking, oh, this means womb ties, it means being good to your mother, it means that all the men in our lives have to be good to the wives. But what about our duty? What about our duty? In Surah Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, be conscious of Allah, and then there's a couple of words after that, and then the verse goes, and of the wombs. So be conscious of the womb. So this is a command. Allah didn't make that command specifically for men. This is also for us. We need to be conscious of our own wombs. We need to be mindful of our own wombs. And we're going to talk about what that looks like in a practical sense, but just acknowledging that Allah wants you to understand the value and the sanctity of the womb. He mentions it in the Quran subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then through the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam we are taught that the womb is protected. There's a sacred protection taking place between like it's a pact between Allah and the womb. And as a student of Deen, I got really excited when I heard this hadith, and I went back and I was like researching, oh, okay, so the womb has spoken to Allah. Is there anything on the male body that has spoken to Allah? And I tried to find like there was an organ that they had that had a pact of protection. But this is specific to the womb. And that's because the womb, if we really think about it, it's a chosen vessel. It is a very sacred choice, a very sacred space that Allah uses to bring a soul from the spiritual world into the physical world. So we have the physical womb, which we have to take care of, and we have to nurture, and we have to make sure it's balanced and healthy. And then we have the metaphysical womb, which is attached to the physical womb. For example, we have the physical heart, and then we have the spiritual heart that we're constantly always working on, right? So we have the physical womb, and then we have the metaphysical womb, which is a portal. It connects this world to the spiritual world, where the soul, the ruh, travels through and comes into this world. So for Allah to make it that chosen vessel means that it was a very sacred place. Means that it's a very important part of us. And we walk around and we carry it every single day, not knowing that, number one, this is a magnificent sacred vessel to bring life into this world. Whether it ever does that or not it doesn't matter. The point is that it's capable of it, and the essence of the womb itself is amazing, right? And then on top of that, to know that there's been a conversation taking place between the womb and Allah of protection. So this means then, as Muslim women, as women who are seeking out God, it's so important we connect to our wombs to connect to Allah, because it means that we're connecting to our essence, and then connecting to our essence on the most foundational level means that then we can then connect to Allah and our Creator. So it's not a. I wish this hadith was the first hadith we learnt when we hit puberty, right? Like, I wish this was the first thing we learnt as young ladies, and the decisions we would make, the choices, the how we would treat our own selves, had we known this is the value of what I'm carrying inside my body. I think it would be really different.
Yeah, and if our cultures, right, if our cultures initiated us into womanhood with that understanding that you are carrying this chosen vessel, that you are carrying this sacred vessel, this sacred organ that's has been addressed by Allah. It's really a very powerful introduction. So there's an idea that, you know, many girls, their self-esteem tends to drop after
Yes.
puberty. There's studies around this. However, boys, their self-esteem tends to go up after they go through puberty. So some researchers have said, what is this? Why is their self-esteem plummeting while boys, their self-esteem is going up? And some have said, well, how their period or their initiation into womanhood is received is what is affecting this self-esteem and the
Mm.
shift. And so, like you're saying, if we're starting with that paradigm and that conversation, then how can we move through and be initiated as women in a way that feels really empowering and spiritual, and just conscious of this greater reality, not just like, oh, I have to deal with a period, I have to
Yeah.
hide it now. And it's a lot of that
Deal with it. Yeah.
shaming and the hiding and the loss of our collective rites of passage that really bring us together to celebrate the first period together, coming into womanhood together. So yeah, it would be really powerful to for that shift to happen collectively in our consciousness. I know
Mm.
that with it, you know, you say so in such strong words how important it is to honor the womb. Can you bring that into terms about like our actual period wellness and well-being? How can the state of our womb impact our spiritual lives? And in turn, why is it imperative that we really give attention to not just
Mm.
that we have a womb, but how the womb is actually doing, like really checking in, like, am I supporting you? Are you well? Are you healthy and whole?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I literally I say it's a duty. It's a duty for of every Muslim woman to either heal her womb or stay on top of taking care of her womb. And I say this, I don't say it just for the sake of saying it because the womb is a sacred thing. I say it because I have seen how many women's spiritual journeys are hindered because of
Mm,
their unhealthy womb, because of irregular periods, because of fertility issues, because of hormonal problems, because of all of the mental health issues that come with hormonal health issues, right? So I have seen how when we work on our hormonal health, when we restore balance back into our wombs, I've seen how women can then uh, they can travel so much faster in their journey to Allah and in their spiritual journey because the body is back in reset. Even if there are other health problems going on, the womb problems or the hormonal issues connected to the womb seem to have a massive, massive impact on spiritual journey and
mm,
spiritual improvement. So I have this understanding of we have to make sure that our internal state is reasonably balanced in order for us to be able to do the tazkiyah work. When our hormonal health is chaotic, like when our endocrine system, which is all of the organs that are connected to the womb and connected to the hormonal system, when the endocrine system is out of whack, we have poor sleep, we have mental health issues, we have gut issues, we have adrenal fatigue, we have women can get thyroid issues, we can have so many diet problems. When the endocrine system is out of whack, so much chaos is happening inside the body, but we then want to go to a spiritual gathering and we want to go and take on an Islamic studies course, and while this teacher is teaching us all this incredible stuff on spirituality, tazkiyah, self-improvement, we have nothing but chaos happening inside of ourselves, so we can't
mm,
seem to tap into the strength to do all the work, the strength to tazkiyah work is a big one. And for example, if you are hormonal and you have an imbalanced endocrine system, how will you know that you're operating from a point of trauma, or whether you're operating from a place of intense fatigue because your adrenal glands are exhausted, or whether your blood sugar levels are not right and you just had to have the right breakfast this morning in order for you to feel balanced? Or how will you know if it's nafs work? So there is no idea of where do I address this. And this is the situation most Muslim women in the Western communities that I've worked in. This is our state. we're in chronic fatigue, we're exhausted, we're stressed, we have most of us have some sort of like mental health or anxiety or some kind of issue that we're working through, and then we're trying to do spiritual work, and then we have irregular periods, and then we have all of these, our diet isn't good, so we don't know where to start. And this is why I'm saying your duty is to start with the body first. Your duty is to start with your hormones first. Regulate your cycle. If your cycle is, if you're having a period every single month, it's a healthy period. You're not having period pains. You're not debilitated by PMS symptoms. If you can regulate your cycle, that is that's fertile ground for tazkiyah work and spiritual work. Because then you're not thinking, it was it blood sugar levels? Was it this? Was it that? Oh no, actually, today it was the nafs, or today it was. It's a lot easier. And I found, and this, I figured this out for myself first, that I find it very hard to do any type of internal spiritual work when my hormones are not balanced and I'm not, my body is not happy. When it's fertile ground to do all the work, especially when you're, working according to your seasons. So this is why I say it's our duty. It's our duty. So aside from just the spiritual things, just obeying Allah in our worship, when we have womb issues, when we have irregular periods, there is so much chaos that comes with that in our ibadah. Like every Ramadan, Sister Chantal, every Ramadan, my most common question is, do I need to fast today? Do I need to pray today? I have no idea. I'm randomly bleeding. I'm randomly spotting. This is the most common question that I get asked in Ramadan. And this is because we don't know our cycles. We can't read our cycles, and we're not regulating our cycles. In order to worship God properly, in order to pray our prayers, in order to fast when we need to fast, we have to fix our period. So if you are somebody who knows that your period is irregular, then it is your duty to do everything to get it back on track again. It is our duty, so that we can then obey Allah, so that our worship is not all over the place. We are aware of where we are in our cycle. So usually in ovulation time, women, sometimes some women get spotting. I'll always get a message from a woman who's like, I'm only 2 weeks in and I shouldn't be, am I fasting? Do I need to pray? Do I need to fast? I'm so confused. Had they just known their own cycle, had they known just what season they're in, we could avoid them missing a day of fasting, or a day of prayer. So there's just so much that comes with it. There is the spiritual, creating a fertile ground to do spiritual work, but also in our external as well, our obedience and our worship in the seasons, knowing how to take care of the womb, it impacts our external worship with God and obeying God and all of the rules that we have for worship. So yeah, and I wrote down a third point, is that when our wombs are unhealthy, when we have hormonal issues, one of the most common traits that I found when I'm working with women is the disconnect from the body and the disconnect from the feminine. And that's dangerous. That's really dangerous, because God gave us this body to find Allah through this body. Like this is a vessel for us to get back to Allah, because the ultimate goal is Allah, right? So this body was supposed to navigate us to Allah. If we're disconnecting from the body that is supposed to navigate us back to Allah, we're losing a massive resource to help us connect with our spirituality. So when we disconnect from our body, so what often happens is women who have fertility issues, the women who have painful periods, women who have irregular periods, they just shut off from that side of the body, and they'd say, I don't know what's happening there. I have no idea. I'm really confused. Okay, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to deal with it. There's so many other things to think about. What we're then doing is we're disconnecting from a massive resource, a massive tool to find Allah, to get to our spirituality. So we need to kind of acknowledge it, embody it, feel. This is why I don't encourage, like when we have period pains, and I say, don't take painkillers, don't take paracetamol when you're on your period. Unless you're really struggling, don't do it, because
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying every time you take a paracetamol when you're on your period, you say your to the womb, you're saying your problem is not my problem. I don't know why
Mm.
it's hurting. I don't know, even though the reason why it's hurting is what we ate that month, how stressed we were that month, all of the stuff, right? But we're saying your problem is not my problem. I don't want to know. Because the womb still goes through what it's going through. It's just that the receptors don't tell your brain about the pain anymore. So it's still going on, but you just don't want to hear about it. That's saying that we're not the same. We're not connected. These kind of things disconnect us from our womb space, and essentially then long term on when we keep doing this for regular periods of time, we disconnect from our femininity. Once we've disconnected from our femininity, we've disconnected from our essence. Once we've disconnected from our essence, going back to that hadith, whoever connects to the womb, Allah connects to you. Whoever disconnects, Allah disconnects from you. So there's a lot harder to find Allah, to the point where I have seen women who have been on this disconnect for so long, and this fight and this war with their wombs for so long, that they end up resenting. So
Mm-hmm.
women who are struggling with fertility, women who are struggling with their periods, women who have had to have a hysterectomy, they've ended up resenting Allah. So this tool, this beautiful tool, this vessel that was supposed to take us to Allah, like we have a car and every car has an engine, and then you want to get from A to B. And in order to get to that point B, you're going to take this journey, but you know your engine's not working well. And anyone with common sense would say to you, hey, fix your engine before you take this journey to the city. Fix the engine, or else you probably won't get there fast enough, or you'll have a problem along the way. Fix
Mm-hmm.
the engine and then take the long journey to the city you want to get to. The same goes for us. Our destination is Allah. Our destination is connecting to God and having Him be pleased with us. We got to fix the engine that God gave us so that we can get to Him without having problems along the way. So that's why I believe that for Muslim women, it is our duty. It's our duty to make sure we're having regular periods, make sure our womb is healthy, make sure our hormonal health is being taken care of, because it definitely impacts our spirituality.
And it brings me to something that I talk about a lot is that I feel in the Muslim community, there's this avoidance of the conversations that we need to have with our girls. And it's like, oh, there's a fiqh of menstruation class happening. Go to Ustadha and learn fiqh of menstruation. And so
Mm,
we find women who are very well versed in the fiqh of their period, but have no concept of why they have a period, what is a healthy period, how to care for their period, and why these irregularities are happening and what they can do about it. And I think it can be a very damaging mindset to start talking about the period from like the maximum days you could be bleeding. And if you bleed more than that, my daughter was in a fiqh class and I was listening to the fifth class, and it was a little bit about like uterus, ovaries, and it talked about all this bleeding, and it was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Before we start talking about 10 and 15 days and averages and what have you, let's start with the foundation. What is a healthy bleed? What is a healthy
mm,
period? Why do we have a period, right? Just starting with that framing. And I feel like I am countering this in my work. A lot of mothers are not wanting to do this work. They want you to do this work for them. They want me to do this work for them. They don't want to step in and be the period guides and teachers that their nieces and their daughters and their little sisters and their community really needs. And so um, that's
mm,
kind of another vision that I have is like, we need to gather like the menstruation fiqh teachers and like go through, this holistic period
mm,
education. So we're embodied period educators. Like it's not just like, yes, I'm glad you know what to do and when to do it, or you know who to ask, but let's get under that. Why are you bleeding so much? Where is your
mm,
period? Where did it go? What have you been
mm,
doing? Like, let's get underneath the fifth and get real with what's happening in the body, not just in the
mm,
head. I do this, I do that. No, let's get really embodied with it. And um, like you said, how can your period, be a means to, how can you witness your body and your period as an ayah of Allah, as a sign of Allah,
mm,
because we are changing with the seasons. We are changing like nature. We are going through these different shifts and energetically and physiologically. How can we witness it with the same kind of awe that we look at the sunset and the sunrise and all of these beautiful things around us. Like my vision is that we start to look inside ourselves and see like, wow, like that same awe we feel, let's feel that about the creation of Allah that we are, and the sign of Allah that we are as women. So thank you for really fleshing that, like giving us a vision to move towards. So give us some practical sense of how do we make this real. We talk about the honoring the ahadith. We talk about how a healthy period can be a vehicle towards our spiritual growth. Give us some starting points. What does it look like to heal the period, heal the womb? Put it into really practical beginner terms for the most, the newer the sisters in the audience with us today, inshallah.
Okay, definitely. Okay, so I'm really going down to basics. When they say honor your womb, we kind of think it's like very fluffy stuff, like hugging your womb all the time and reciting Fatiha, and we do that. We do all of
Yes.
that stuff as well. But honoring the womb it takes discipline, right? Honoring the womb is first thing in the morning, having the right breakfast. I cannot stress how much this impacts the womb, and people just don't take it seriously enough. People don't seem to understand. When I'm having this, when I'm doing courses, I'm doing workshops, and I'm or one-to-ones, and I'm working with women, they think, how does just having breakfast, the right breakfast, how does that impact their our blood sugar levels and our insulin sensitivity has a huge impact on the womb, a huge impact. This is why women who have PCOS problems also have like blood sugar problems, insulin issues, and it's just a chain reaction. The first, the easy, maybe not the easiest, but the first and the basic way of honoring your womb is having the right breakfast every single morning. The worst thing that you can give your womb on an empty stomach is sugar and caffeine. In the UK, I don't know about you guys, but in the UK, the most popular breakfast we have in the UK is toast and tea. And toast is carbs, and that translates as sugar in the body, right? So toast and tea is what most women, especially on a cold winter morning, that's what most women have before they go to work, right? So um, the worst thing we can do to our stomachs or to our wombs is to put sugar and caffeine into the body on an empty stomach. And if you're not even putting sugar in and you're just going straight to caffeine, terrible, right? Having tea first thing in the morning on empty stomach, having coffee first thing in the morning on empty stomach, terrible for the womb. What that does is it makes the blood sugar levels go really high and then drop really fast. It also affects our cortisol hormone, which is the stress hormone. So it affects that. So you naturally have cortisol in your body produced first thing in the morning to get you up and get you ready for the day. But when we have sugar and caffeine, it gives us an extra dose of cortisol that we did not need. So it increases that hormone. When there's more cortisol in our bloodstream, there's more cortisol in our body, and there's more sugar in our body, the whole hormonal system takes a hit. And this is where we get our adrenal fatigue from, our chronic fatigue, and all these things. So the first thing we do in the morning is have a protein heavy breakfast. So we get a lot of protein in there in the morning. Protein and healthy fats. We're talking butter, we're talking avocados, all the good quality healthy fats, nuts, and any other type of protein. If you can do egg, if you can do fish, if you can do any type of cheese, if that works for you, depending on who you are, what your diet is, based on your temperament, get protein in there. I say to people, you are better off having a little bit of last night's meat than having like toast and tea in the breakfast, as for breakfast. So the best or the foundational thing that you can do on a daily basis is have a good quality breakfast. After that, like if you want like cereal or if you want the sugary stuff, whatever, have that in the middle of the day so you can work it off for the rest of the day. But breakfast time, you need to be saying to the body, I got you. We're in this together. It's not I'm gonna do whatever I want and then good luck, mate. And then we're just gonna try and figure this. I'm gonna try and navigate the whole busy day whilst I haven't given you the right fuel. It's like putting diesel fuel into a petrol car and petrol fuel into a diesel car. You just wouldn't do that. The body, first thing in the morning, female bodies need protein and healthy fats, right? The second thing is steps. Tracking your cycle. Track your cycle to know what season you are in. There are 4 seasons that you experience every single month, and each of those seasons impact your body and impact your brain in different ways. So know what season you're in. When you're in ovulatory phase, you will need a different type of diet. When you're in luteal phase, you'll need a different type of diet, different type of exercise, different type of lifestyle. So track your cycle to, and there is so much information online about the seasons of the womb, the 4 phases of the womb. You just need to do a quick Google search and you can learn so much information about this stuff. So give yourself that time and make sure your cycle is tracked. Every single cycle, every single bleed needs to be tracked. You need to know when you're starting, when you're finishing, and then living in sync with that. Another one that is it's just another womb care, a very important womb care technique that most women will shrug off, especially if they're mothers, is sleep. You need some incredible amounts of sleep if you want your hormones to realign and rebalance themselves, especially if you've got chronic fatigue, if you have womb issues. Sleep is a big one. Were you going to say something?
No, I just wanted to say,
Yeah. Sleep is a big one. When I had PCOS, one of the best things I learned when I had PCOS is my mom told me, she was like, I read up that women with PCOS need more sleep than most women, like generally. And then she said, and most women need more sleep than men. So we actually need a lot of sleep to help with our hormonal like reset, because the body is in overdrive. It's working really hard. So my naturopath says a minimum of 8 hours every single night. I can't even imagine doing 8 hours every single night. My body will just wake itself up because it's so alert all the time. But a minimum of 8 hours, and I do try when I can. I do try to fit that in just for the sake of my womb. Literally, just to honor my womb, I will try and fit in extra hours of sleep. If you're struggling to sleep, look at getting some magnesium in your body, getting the right herbs in your body, and things like that. One of the things that affects the sleep is screens. So when we have access to screens just before bed, it affects our endocrine system, it affects our wombs. So I was once working with this woman who, we changed nothing. She was having really irregular periods, and she had a lot of issues, hormonal problems, and her periods were so irregular, and it was bad. We changed nothing from her whole life apart from 2 things. We took out sugar, and then she stopped looking at the screen 2 hours before going to sleep. Based on just these 2 things alone, her womb was able to regulate itself again. Usually there's so many different areas we have to work on. Get on the massages, fix the diet entirely. All we did was take sugar out and fix her sleep, and her periods were regular again, which means it's a really powerful one. And this idea of having our screens just before going to bed, the light tells the eyes, oh, it's daylight. The eyes send that message to the brain and says, it's daylight. Oh, we need more cortisol. We need more energy because it's daytime. And this is 11 o'clock at night. You've had a full day. You're fully exhausted. And there's been a message sent to the brain. Oh, we need a cortisol because everyone's like awake. Apparently it's daytime. The body's going, hold on a minute. I've just done like 18 hours today. I'm so exhausted. No. The eyes are telling us it's daytime. So then we get a whole shoot of like extra hormones, extra cortisol level. Our cortisol level goes up. And what happens? Then we put the phone down and we want to go to sleep, and the body's going, we just sent a whole bunch of hormones to get you up out of bed, and now you want to go back to sleep. So it's so confusing for the body when we're looking at screens just before going to bed. And then it does affect the quality of our sleep. It affects the length of our sleep. It affects so many things. So how we behave, what we do, and our routine before bed impacts our womb. So that's breakfast, protein heavy breakfast, tracking your cycle and knowing exactly what season, what phase you're in, and eating according to that. And then sleep, fixing your sleep in whatever way you can. My naturopath, she actually says 8 to 9 hours of sleep, but usually I just tell people 8 because they just switch off when I say 9. They're like, that's not even humanly possible. And then we have stomach massages. Every night before you go to sleep, reconnect with your stomach and give it a massage. all of the muscles and all of the ligaments that are in the stomach are connected to the womb and the pelvic floor area. So when you relax the muscles in your stomach, you're relaxing the womb. Once you're relaxing the muscles in your stomach, also blood flow is going really well to the womb. Once blood flow and oxygen levels are going at, at a good pace to the womb can do what it needs to do. The womb needs a lot of blood, and it needs a lot of healthy oxygen being sent down to it so it can have its monthly cycle. But every time we tense, every time we're at work, every time we have some kind of stress, or every time we're trying to look skinnier than we actually are and not letting the stomach sit, every time we tense our stomach, the womb takes a hit. So massaging the stomach at the end of a day, especially if it's been a stressful day, is really important. And you can look online for like stomach massages and make sure you're just doing it in the right direction and not anti colon, the anti colon way. You got to go the right way. So there's that. And if and just from like a baseline perspective, baseline um, piece of information is that sugar and processed foods directly impact your womb. Sugar and caffeine is something, it's different, because if you have caffeine with a full stomach, it's not going to impact you like that. But sugar will always impact your womb. Sugar and processed foods have been, in so many researches, have been proven to impact PMS symptoms. So when we have premenstrual symptoms or premenstrual side effects, so any type of like sore breasts, when we have bloatedness, when we feel really grumpy, we feel really irritable, and all of the this horrible side effects that come with being about to start your period, sugar and processed foods directly impact that. So if we can take out sugar from our diet, if we can take out processed foods from our diet, you will have significantly better transition into your period, and your period pains should leave as well, inshallah. And if you don't have any other underlying issues. So that's it. Practical things. So tracking your cycle, having a protein heavy breakfast. What was the other one? Sleep, stomach massages, and getting rid of sugar and processed foods.
That's really helpful. There's so many of things. I was like, of course, yes. And this one, I mention it because it should fall in line with the others when you're doing those other practices. But I feel like it needs to be said. I need to like put this on a t-shirt. If you are not moving your bowels every single day, the hormones cannot be balanced. So people
Wow.
will ask, what can I do for this thing? What can I do with that thing? So, for example, after you have made your hormones and you've used them, they need to be eliminated from your body. If they're not coming out of your body, what will they do? They will recirculate, get reabsorbed
Mm.
into your colon, reabsorb into your bloodstream, and then throw off the balance between your estrogen and progesterone. So, if you're doing those things like eating in the morning, having a good bit of healthy fats, because you need that fat for motility, for gut motility. If you're resting and what have you, your magnesium rich foods, etc. Altogether, you should be having good bowel movements. But I feel like I need to state that because people
Mm.
really are struggling with constipation and thinking it has nothing to do with their period, and it has everything to do with their period. So I'm not talking about clinical constipation, which is less than maybe 3 bowel movements a week. I'm talking about holistic constipation. If you are eating every day, you should be relieving what you eat every day. So that was the only thing. It should flow when those other things are happening. You should notice regular bowel movements. But in
Yeah,
case anyone missed that,
yeah, thank you. Our Ustadha, when I was doing the Mizan therapy training, our Ustadha said something that just stuck in my head, just the way it was worded. It was so beautiful. She said, the bowel, the bladder, and the womb are three sisters. So, and they
mm,
one will always affect the other two. So you can't differentiate between like I have a bladder problem and that your womb is not impacted and your bowels are not impacted from it. They're three sisters and they work together. And especially she was making reference to the hysterectomy. When women have womb issues and they say, the doctors say, oh, we'll take this out and that will fix all your problems, when they take the womb out, the bladder and the bowels take a huge hit. And every woman that I know that has had a hysterectomy has got chronic bladder infections all the
mm,
time. And it's
mm,
because these are sisters that need to work together and support each other. And once you've ripped one sister out, naturally the other two sisters are going to be in a state of mourning. And the same goes when they're just in our bodies and one is ill, the other two are going to be working overtime and working really hard or stressed out about it, right?
Hmm. And the pain does migrate between them,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes people think, oh, I'm having bowel pain, but it could be migrating from the inflammation in your uterus and vice versa, right? You might think, oh, it's just bowel pain, but it's migrating between the two because they're so close to each other. So subhanallah, three sisters, that's a lovely way of thinking of them, that you just can't take one out and think the others are going to be intact. There's a void, right? You take out a uterus, there's a void. Things are shifting. Things are not in their optimal positioning. So thank you for speaking to that. I know you and I could talk for a couple
No,
of
right?
weeks, not even a couple of hours. I know we could talk for a couple of weeks. But as we move towards conclusion, you are touring with the Seasons Within course. You know I'm releasing Peaceful Periods and going to be touring with that soon, inshallah. Like, what shift are you seeing as this information is reaching more Muslim women? And what are you envisioning for our next generation of girls?
Mm. Well, first of all, I'm so excited about your book. I can't stress how excited I have been for a long period of time. I'm just really, really excited. Once this book is out, I did the same with Habiba Kande's books. I just purchase books and then I just give them out to people. I'm just like, take this, you need this. So I feel like I'm going to be doing the same thing with your book, and I'm very, very excited about it. Allah give you tawfiq. Allah accept
Ameen,
all of the effort
ameen,
and whatever you have left now in this journey of publishing your book. May it be easy for you.
ameen,
May
ameen,
Allah open doors for you and facilitate
ameen,
ease for you in this, because
ameen.
Allah knows. Allah knows that people like me are making dua for somebody to write something so we can like give it out as a resource. So we're
Mm,
very, very excited.
inshallah.
Yeah, so I've been traveling. I've been traveling around the world, and alhamdulillah, teaching the Seasons Within course, and it's been amazing. And there is a shift. And I first saw this shift amongst the non-Muslim community. That's
Mm,
where I was like, wow, these guys are doing this. Why are we not doing this, right? And I realized we were doing it. It's just that I didn't know about it. And then I joined the movement. But the Muslim and non-Muslim world, women from all across the world now are starting to learn about their seasons and learn about womb health and acknowledge, because for the past 50 years, with the rise of feminism and then trying to be like men, in order to get our rights and in order to be treated the way that we wanted to be treated, we had to disconnect from our wombs. And now all around the world, women are realizing, no, 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 I can actually get all my rights and live the way I want to live whilst honoring my womb and honoring my essence as a woman, and that it is different from being a man. So this movement, for like, you can hear it, you can feel it. Women everywhere are asking, why has my period stopped? Or why is my why how is my diet affecting my period? And all these questions are coming up everywhere, and you can feel the generational blockage that we had, like that our mothers and our grandmothers had, with the lack of information. You can feel that blockage is it's leaving. Everywhere I go, I can hear this conversation about, my mom didn't know, my grandmother didn't know, but
mm,
now I'm going to teach this to my daughter. And the revival of Islamic knowledge at the same time is making this movement so powerful, because it's not a practice that's coming from outside. It's from within our tradition to honor the womb. Like Allah has honored the womb in the Quran, like Allah has honored the womb in Hadith. It's from within our tradition to honor the essence of a woman. That's why this movement is so powerful now for Muslim women. And I can see it everywhere. But the vision that I have, it's such a simple vision. It's such a simple vision, but the only vision that I have for our teenage girls is to wake up in the morning and have a good breakfast and just know what season they're in. That's it. Like,
mm,
that, if they can do that, they will have such a deep understanding of the womb. They will know themselves so much that they won't be making the decisions and the mistakes that we made. And they, even when it comes to relationships, as they're growing as young ladies into the world and they're interacting with men, the type of men they bring into their lives based on knowing what the
mm.
womb is and how sacred it is, the type of men they bring into their lives. So it all starts, I really do believe it's all going to start with the right breakfast and knowing what season you're in. And if every teenage girl could wake up in the morning just doing those two things, what season am I in today? And what good quality breakfast am I having today? The changes and the impacts and the openings that come from that, there onwards, inshallah khair, like it's going to be good. It's going to be really good.
I'll share with you a piece of my vision. So this Ramadan, this year's Ramadan, myself and two other families, we took our children to sight the moon for Ramadan. It was the new crescent was visible on the first night, but before we could see it, all the kids are just clamoring and they're waiting. And these kids are like from 3 to 12, including my daughter who just started her period this year. And so they're all just waiting for the moon, waiting for the moon. And they see the crescent and they all are just like in jubilee. Like it's just so like, oh my goodness, I can't, like they just can't contain themselves. They're hopping, they're jumping, they're running, all ages, right? So excited about seeing this new moon. And that awe and that excitement and that seeking and celebrating and looking for it that I
Mm,
witnessed, I want girls to see their first period like that. I want them to
mm,
be prepared for it. I want them to
mm.
be ready to receive it, waiting for it, and waiting to celebrate, right? Um, so that's part of my vision. And when you see the book cover, you'll see how that's informed in the vision of the book cover. This idea that in the same way we have this anticipation and excitement and preparedness to receive a new moon, that girls will receive their new moon, their menstrual
Mm.
cycles in that way, the first time and the second and the 100th, and just keep cycling, with this sense of awe, like, wow, I'm a sign of Allah too. Like I'm a sign of God, and that's part of
Mm.
my vision. So Allah realize it for all of us. I mean, for ourselves and
Mm.
our girls, and even for our
Mm.
grandmothers. I talked to my grandmother is 95, and I asked her, "What was your first period like?" And I know that the work I'm doing is also healing for her. That she wasn't celebrated, she wasn't prepared, she wasn't informed, and so this work that we are doing is a healing, inshallah, for the women who came before us and those who will descend from us and come from us. So thank you for the work that you're doing. I can't wait for our paths to cross in the travels. And
Yes.
Allah put barakah and khair and tawfiq and safety and good health, robust health and protection for you and your family as you continue traveling and continue doing this work. So just give us a little bit of how sisters can find you if they already don't know you, because your people roll hard. Like if you say anything, people are like,
Please,
"Where is she? Where's Ustadha?"
please.
Like I'm here for her. So the UK sisters are like, "What time is it in the UK?" They ride hard for you. So
It's
tell me.
I love it. I love it. The
Me
UK
too.
sisters, they really they help me. They
MashaAllah.
help me. They really help me stay motivated. Otherwise, I would lose momentum. But they really help me stay motivated. Alhamdulillah, I'm so
MashaAllah.
grateful for them.
MashaAllah.
So Instagram. Find me on Instagram. It's at Iffet Rafeeq. That's my name. And I have an online institute called the Blue Lantern Institute. It's an institute I run with my husband, who is also a student of Deen, and we teach Islamic studies courses on there. Alongside Islamic studies courses, it's kind of like a hybrid space between Islamic studies and well-being courses. So we
Mm,
bring the two together. So we do like food and nutrition, we do like tazkiyah and fiqh and hadith and tafsir, and then equally we do like healing writing courses and marriage courses and intimacy courses. So there's just an amalgamation of trying to approach our religious studies, our spiritual studies with a very holistic viewpoint, i.e., you can't study fiqh without studying food of nutrition and making sure your body is healthy. And you can't be studying like tafsir of Quran without realizing that there are things to take and implement in our marriage and in our parenting experience. So it's just giving a very holistic viewpoint of religion. We have so that we have the website and we have an app, the Blue Lantern app, where everybody watches the courses as well. And that's trying to live consciously. We're trying to implement everything that we're learning, and we're discussing it. We have in-person gatherings. We meet online regularly. We have lots of good stuff happening on the Blue Lantern. So if you're interested in joining a very conscious community of people who are studying Islam, but also trying to bring in well-being and a very holistic viewpoint of religion, the Blue Lantern space is perfect for that. And then my Instagram, at Iffet Rafeeq. That's where I kind of share when I'm doing courses, when I'm doing workshops, when I'm doing online courses, when I'm doing in-person courses as well, inshallah.
Barakallahu fikum. Allah increase you all in your vision for this like really robust, embodied, like students of ilm and people of ilm. It's so important. That embodiment, I think, has been missing from our tradition
Mm,
in
mm,
more recent decades. I mean, in the past, we know that ulama were scholars, but also scientists and doctors, and like there was this engagement with knowledge in all of these ways. It's not just this one thing. So thank you for
mm.
reviving like comprehensive practical Islamic knowledge and really applying it in our lives. And inshallah, again, we're also raising this generation of embodied period educators and menstruation of fiqh teachers, and like people who are really in relationship with the information and really practicing it and applying it and reflecting on it in a really deep way, and not just parroting it, not just
Yes,
talking.
yes.
So jazakumullah khair. Thank you for your time, Ustadha. We'll be in touch. I'll share your links so people can find you and access you. Thank you all for listening and being present with us today. Please digest this conversation, listen to it again. Take one nugget. Imagine this was a buffet. What one thing do you want to taste today? You don't have to take it all, but just start with one, and inshallah, with sincere intention and tawfiq and success from Allah, we will all grow and benefit together. So take care. Have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and peace be upon you.